Hi everyone, welcome to the Monkey Patching Podcast, where we go bananas about all things genies, wikis, and more. My name is Murillo, joined always by my friend, Bart.
Hi, Murillo.
Hi Bart, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Completely relaxed off of 3 days
Then
of holiday.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, sorry, 3
Yes,
weeks. Yeah.
yes.
That
Yes.
relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, whoa, time, what is time? You know, it's all the same. Any highlights you want to share?
No, it was all good.
Good. It was just like,
We traveled around a bit. We went to the south of France, and then we took the ferry and we went to the north of Corsica. And also went to the more mountainous area in the middle. Then took the ferry again to Italy, and then stopped in Switzerland to do
wow.
hut trekking. So
Wow.
we enjoyed our time, and we had good weather everywhere.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Did you catch the heat waves anywhere?
Well, I guess it's part of the good weather, but not the extreme. Nothing
It
of the
wasn't
extreme stuff.
okay. That's nice. That's nice. Glad you had a good time. Happy to have you back with us. The people missed you, you know. They're like,
Thank you.
we
Happy
want
to be
Bart
back. Happy to be back.
Yes, yes. So a lot of stuff happened in between.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
A lot of stuff, as always, right? I feel like if you blink twice, it's too late. You know, things pass.
Yeah, these days, and especially in AI, it's if you miss a week,
Yeah.
you miss a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also like, because it's every time so much news, you get numb to it a bit as well.
You get numbed, and he's also like, on one hand, you feel like you're falling behind, but on the other hand, it's like, I'll catch the next train because
Yeah.
I know something else. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's fine. So it's a bit of a weird time, right? But what do we have for today? What do we separate? We have GitHub CEO Thomas Domke is stepping down, and Microsoft is folding GitHub's leadership more tightly into its CoreAI organization. He'll stick around to ease the shift, writing, and I quote, "I'll be staying through the end of 2025 to help guide the transition." So GitHub is popular for the Git repos and stuff. It was a separate organization and it was acquired by Microsoft.
It was acquired around, this is testing my memory, around 2018, I want to say. And then Nat Friedman took over CEO from the founder of GitHub. And then Thomas took over from Nat Friedman, I want to say in 2001, something like that.
Yeah.
And now he's stepping down, and he's gonna look at the startup world. He's getting involved more as a founder in the startup community. As I understand, there's very little information on what exactly he's gonna do. But the other side of the coin is that Microsoft also announced that there will be no new CEO of GitHub, and that GitHub's organization will basically report directly to the CoreAI team within Microsoft.
Okay.
So there will be not a single person leading GitHub, but the different quote unquote team leads within GitHub will report directly to the Microsoft team leads.
So GitHub has been having more AI stuff, right? Even they released the GitHub Spark a while ago, which is kind of like vibe coding, but there's been more and more AI features, right? So I think that's the only, not similarity, but like the only reason I can see why they're reporting to the Core AI team, but it still feels like
Well, I looked into it a little bit because I didn't know what the CoreAI team was, and the CoreAI team is AI platform. So the Azure AI Foundry is under there, but there's also tools. It's for example, VS Code is under there. Copilot is under there. GitHub will now also be folded within that, folded into that organization.
And Copilot is the GitHub Copilot or is the O365 Copilot or both?
I thought it was the GitHub Copilot, but you make me doubt now.
Okay.
So there, I think people are a bit afraid, like, what will this mean with for GitHub, right? Will it keep its own identity? Will it shift going forward? I think so far, Microsoft has done a very good job at keeping GitHub what it was, basically this community space where everybody around open source like decides like this is where we want to start from, this is where we believe in, that we want to build on. But I think everybody's a bit afraid, like, what will this mean for the future? Let's see. I think everybody was also afraid when Microsoft acquired it, and that turned out quite okay. There's maybe also something to say, like, being within this CoreAI team, that being closer to the development of these other sideways related tools and platforms, that it might improve GitHub as well? Question mark. But well, let's see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. But it does feel like a big change, no? Like a whole position is being.
To me, it feels a bit like when GitHub got acquired. When GitHub got acquired, like everybody had a bit this fear that it would lose this feeling of being this neutral hub. Like it very much has this image like this is this neutral open source focused hub for the community. And I think it's somewhat fair to say that that fear then wasn't really needed. I think Microsoft did a very good job. But now we're maybe in a different situation, right? Maybe get less independence to make their own decisions, to remain this neutral hub, if there is no single person responsible for this for GitHub as an organization.
Yeah, I think GitHub has Microsoft has had a history a bit with open source that is interesting as well, right? With being very, let's say, not against, I guess, open source, but now change a bit the image, like really doing a lot for open source as well. So I think maybe back then when Microsoft acquired GitHub, it was a bit of that. I don't know. I feel like my impression is things could have gotten mixed up, right? But indeed, realistically, I don't think there will be a big change for us. I think maybe for the people within GitHub, it's like now it's a bit different person. I'm aligning with other teams. Maybe you don't have someone's attention to really advocate. Now you have to, share. But I think for us, I'm not too concerned right now. Right now, maybe tomorrow will be a different story.
Time will tell.
Time will tell, indeed. What else we have?
FFmpeg 8.0 is picking up a native Whisper filter, bringing built-in speed transcription via OpenAI's model through whisper.cpp. And it's coming soon. And I quote, FFmpeg 8.0 should release within a few weeks, alongside optional GPU acceleration and handy SRT JSON outputs. That's a whole mouthful. What does it mean? Because I'm quite excited about what it means. So when I was already saying, like, you typically use FFmpeg to record stuff, to convert stuff, etc. What Whisper does, and now it will have native built-in Whisper support. Whisper basically does speech transcription. So it basically understands what is said and turns that into either an SRT file, a subtitle file, or a JSON file. So it becomes very easy, for example, when we're recording this podcast, to run this video file through FFmpeg and automatically inject subtitles in it.
Yeah.
Or just a subtitle file that you can use for other purposes, for like
upload
for
it to
example,
YouTube,
to make summaries or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess the JSON file, I guess, is something analogous to the SRT, right? To the subtitles, right? Like timestamps. This was said from this time, this time. Yeah.
I would assume, yeah.
The Whisper CPP model, does it come with FFmpeg, or do you have to bring your model, like, and it's compatible, or how does it work?
That is a very good question. What I assume, what I hope actually, is that it's bundled. But I'm not sure what that would mean for the install size.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, indeed.
I'm not sure if it's like the licenses for Whisper and FFmpeg are compatible to also even do that. But I hope it's for an end user very simple to install.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked into those details, to be honest.
I just here reading the FFmpeg 8.0 can be built with the and then the flag enable Whisper library when Whisper library is present in the system, having OpenAI Whisper model support. So maybe you need to have it, like you use the model you have, but when you're building it, it probably adds to the binary.
Yeah, but I hope so. So this is when you like build the source code yourself, to build a binary yourself.
Yeah.
And what I hope is that like I'm a Mac user. Like if I use Homebrew to install FFmpeg, then it's very easy for me to say,
yeah, it's just
please
there.
include Whisper.
Yeah, indeed. And the Whisper model, it is a open source model or open weights model. Again, I'm gonna go into the beta. And for the .cpp, for people that are not aware, basically, this one guy he decided to rewrite some things in C++ to make it more efficient to run, less memory footprint, so you can basically run these models that before you kind of couldn't run in your machine, but Whisper CPP now you can. So we got very popular, and there's also Llama CPP, which is a sister repo of that. Very cool. Very cool. I feel like there's a lot of things that I could use this for, but I think now I feel like they're like solution, like we use Riverside, right? Some things that kind of come with it, but I think it's really nice that they're offering this as well. I wonder also how well it does for other languages other than English as well.
Well, I've tried Whisper actually a few times on the audio from our podcast.
Yeah, and
it's good, but it's not great. But we're also, me especially, maybe you saw partially, we're not native speakers, right?
Yeah, we're not.
That probably also confuses the model sometimes. But it's like so, and that means like it's good but not great. It means it's not good enough to just inject in the video stream and everything will be perfect. But it's definitely good enough to generate summaries, etc.
Yeah. But I think it's the same thing with all Gen AI, right? Like it's 80% right. So it's like it's good enough for a lot of stuff, but it's not. It's exactly, not perfect. Yeah. Cool. And what else do we have? The Wikimedia Foundation's court challenge to the UK's Online Safety Act categorization rules was dismissed, but the judgment puts pressure on Ofcom. As the foundation puts it, and I quote, "Our concerns on the looming threats to Wikipedia and its contributors remain unaddressed," underscoring why they brought the case. What is this about?
So in the UK, there's a Online Safety Act that they are implementing, and there are some categories in that Online Safety Act. I'm definitely not an expert in this. There are some categories. Category 1 is the most stringent, and it refers to platforms where there are a lot of users, where there's a lot of user-to-user intervention, where there are recommendations. These type of platforms, which are called Category 1 platforms under this regulation, they have some duties that they need to adhere to. The most important one, why Wikimedia also went to court to try to get it dismissed, the ruling, at least for them to get an exemption, is that there is a duty for identity verification of contributors, which Wikimedia always held very high regard, not to have to share any information and to let basically the community do their work. If something was not correct, to have someone else correct it. And there's also something to say, like there are things that we don't really care that much about identification. Like when I write an article on Gouda cheese, and at some point it comes out that I wrote an article on Gouda cheese. I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? It was a data breach in that. But if you are writing about a repressive regime and you're in that country at the moment, and it comes out in a database that it was you that was writing this, it's of course can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that the Wikimedia Foundation also takes this stance to try and safeguard the privacy, basically, of their contributors. They try to get basically sort of an exemption to not have to adhere to these rules. they went to court for it. It got dismissed in court. But there is sort of this conclusion that even though they do need to adhere to the Online Safety Act regulations, we will more or less try to make it work. That's how I read it, without any very, very good guarantees on what this means for the Wikimedia and how they should then actually implement it. So I think that it's still very vague on what this means for its future, for Wikimedia in the UK at least.
So Wikimedia is like the foundation is the ones that govern Wikipedia?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that would mean that if they fully comply, at least in the UK, every time you want to make a change on a Wikipedia article, you have to identify yourself.
Well, that's the fear that they have, that it will go that far.
Like if it goes fully under the UK Online Safety Act.
Yeah.
And if
it's
it
not
goes,
that you need to identify yourself to the world, but you need to identify yourself to Wikipedia, but it's a data risk, because if there would be a data breach, your information is out there.
Yeah. And also, yeah, indeed. And probably even less people are going to actually contribute to. There's another reason not to, right? Not to contribute. But I think do you know why it was dismissed? Did they just say like, because to me, Wikipedia is something that's been here for so long. I don't think anyone has, I don't remember any story or anything about issues with that, right? Like that people would add stuff and I don't know, like dire consequences or anything.
No, I didn't went into the why exactly, but I can, when I reason about it, like I think it's when you implement something that has, well, it has far-reaching which for a lot of platforms out there, you actually want this to happen, right? Like I can imagine that there are social media platforms where you find it important that if it's a category 1, that some users also, if they share important information with other users, that they do identify themselves as being real people. I think at this early stage, when implementing this regulation, if there are already exemptions on such a scale where they're going to say, oh no, even though you check all the boxes to be category 1, because we like you and you're Wikimedia, you're exempted. I think those precedents are probably very dangerous. Like it puts a bit on, like a regulation like that, on a loose footing if you do that on such early days.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. This is more about like not wanting to set a precedent. It's a very easily breakable rule.
Well, when I try to reason about it, I don't know if that was their explanation.
Yeah. No, but that's also the thought I had. But at the same time, it's like the whole Wikipedia concept is like the world is self-healing, kinda, right? Like people are in general well-intended, and like people will take the time and effort, and I think that's been a very successful experiment, let's say, right?
True. Yeah.
So I also think it would be a bit of a pity now to kind of take steps back when, I don't know, I feel like that's where we want to go, right? We would like to be in a place where we as a community, we as like a society, we want the information there to be accurate. We take time, like we don't need anyone to babysit us. Like we got this, right? So I think that's why I was also not challenging, but like a bit curious why it was dismissed. But yeah, I also understand the other side. I definitely understand the other side. Yeah. And what else do we have, Bart?
We have Anthropic boosted Claude Sonnet 4 to a 1 million token context window, enabling huge codebases and documents set in a single request. It's already rolling out with long context support for Sonnet 4 now in public beta. It will start on the API platform and on Bedrock on AWS. 1 million tokens of context, Rilo. What do you think?
It's good, huh? I think before, for context, I think before it was how many tokens? Before it was...
It's a 5-time increase. So it was...
5-time increase.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It was 200,000 before.
Yeah, it's pretty good, huh? It's
very good. And it basically means, it says in their article, that it will allow code bases up to 75,000 lines of code, which is... It's already significant, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Why it's good is if you use a lot of AI-assisted coding, is that when you edit a file, when you generate a new component to your application, it's important for the LLM to have enough context of what you're trying to build, basically. So because if you build a new component in that application, like it probably interacts with a lot of stuff. And if the context window is big enough to have your whole project in its context window, it will typically improve the output.
Yeah, I think we also talked, like you mentioned, context. We also talked about context engineering, how that's a bit of a challenge. And also, a lot of the times when the models have a smaller context window, they have to quote unquote decide what goes in the context. So they have to do queries and they have to search and add this and add that. And I think by increasing the context window, you remove a bit of those decisions, right? Like you can just cast a bigger net and you trust that information is going to be there, and it's one less problem to have, right? I think even things like RAG, if you have something that just fits, and I think 1 million tokens is quite a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need a whole complex architecture, right? So it's another example that these things help. Maybe also this is Claude Sonnet 4. Which is the cheaper model, right? Like the less powerful model. I think the more powerful is the Opus, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
What Opus is used for a lot is more for, let's say, complex reasoning, let's say architecture design for a new or for bug fixing. Sonnet 4 is really used a lot for generating code.
Indeed. So actually Sonnet had has a 4.1 or no? Because I think Opus had a 4.1, no?
Not that I'm aware of, but it could be.
But yeah, I think it does. But in any case, so it's like the model got an upgrade, but it's not a new model. It's just the context window, which I think, to be honest, maybe I even get more excited about this than a new model, because I feel like this is more concrete how it changes my life.
This has a concrete like result on
exactly. Like when you say there's a new model, and we're gonna talk about GPT-5, like sometimes it's like you get the benchmarks and it's a bit like I kind of see how it's better, but not really, or I don't really feel it. And I think this is something very palpable, right? Like, okay, now I can do these things that I definitely couldn't do before. So
it's interesting to see, because also what we saw in the past is like the huge context windows, like the performance of that is like the recall is not always great. I haven't looked at if there are recall benchmarks on this yet. How they implemented it pricing wise is that the price will go up from the moment that your context window is bigger than the original, so bigger than the 200,000, then the price will double. But you also still have the ability to do caching on these large context windows. So it's I think it's, if you're working on a very big code base, it's probably still worth it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, again,
like it's interesting to see if you look at it from a pricing perspective. I think what you said earlier makes sense. Like it might, when you use Claude Code, you see today it does a lot of tool calling to understand like where in your project is something, and to also make sure that it injects it into the context. Maybe it will reduce the amount of tool calling, and actually like the impact on total spend if you use it via the API is somewhat neutral. It will be interesting to see what the impact is.
I think it definitely could. One thing also, maybe it's a bit of a side note, but you mentioned like tool calling. One thing that I notice a lot that these LLMs do, they have a bias towards writing code. So if you let it run, like even if you let it run a few times, even if it's the same Claude code, like a few days, sometimes you see like duplicated functions in different places of the code. Like a lot of these things, right? And I imagine that if you could reduce the amount of tool calls, and all these things, it will help. And I remember there was even an article some weeks ago that was covered on a podcast that was the smells of vibe coding, the vibe coding smells. There's like, yeah, if you have a nice utility function but you duplicated this, duplicated there, but probably because you're using LLMs, right? Which just something to be aware, right?
True.
I don't think is oh yeah, very cool. Excited about this as well. Anything else you want to mention here, or shall we move on to the next?
Let's move on to the next.
Google unveiled Gemma 3 270 million, a compact on-device friendly model built for fast, cheap fine-tuning and solid instruction following. I quote, internal tests on a Pixel 9 Pro SoC show the int4 quantized model used just 0.75% of the battery for 25 conversations. So it's another model from Google.
It's another model from Google, really focusing on the edge device space, which I think is very interesting to see that we have quite performant models with very low power consumption. That's what you were presenting just now. Like for 25 chats, it only uses 0.75% of the battery of a Pixel Pro. Well, you can debate whether or not that is a lot or not.
Yeah.
And how they do this is that this Gemma 3 270 million model, it's really it's trained to be very good natively at tool calling. But you need to fine tune it for the specific tool calling that you want to do. So typically you have a fine tuning stage before you actually start using this model and bring it into your application on a mobile device. So you really train it for a specific goal, and apparently that is what it's very well suited to do.
So the model was fine-tuned for specific function calling. Does that mean that in the training data, afterwards you have a step where you have prompts, you have available tools, and then we have the actual expected function call that was supposed to be called, and we fine-tune on that? Or what does it mean?
Well, I think what they focus on, and to be honest, I'm not exactly sure when following your the definition, but I think what they focus on is that it's what this model is very good at is instruction following. But you need to fine tune it on that. So this can be like when you get this voice input or the transcription from this voice input, make sure to generate a summary and put it in my Apple Notes.
I see.
For example, to really like this specific instruction, you need to fine tune it for to be very good at that specific use case.
I see. So it kind of like steers towards those kinds of actions and those kinds of things.
Exactly.
I see. Interesting. And I also see here it's also production-ready quantization, right? So quantization, if memory serves me well, is basically when you basically shrink the memory of the models and also improves the inference speed, right? So we have a lot of floating point numbers, which has a lot of decimals after the dot, right? So you can just kind of cut them a bit and say it's not exactly 0.11227, it's 0.1. And the model does okay still, it's not as perfect, but then the memory is much smaller, inference is much faster. So when you talk about edge devices, this is
true. Yeah.
Big win, right? Very cool. You can also have a login phase or Llama. So yeah, Kaggle, LM Studio, Docker.
Yeah, and actually what they say, because you mentioned Llama here, like you can very easily test it on your local machine, but it's definitely not meant, they also explicitly say it's not meant for conversational use cases.
Yeah, I see. But it's nice. I think, and again, we started talking about the phone usage, which I think is maybe the headline, right? But I think maybe more realistically for people is that you could probably run this locally, right? Like you're taking, I don't know, you're on a long plane, you want to have a model available for you. You can spin a lump on Llama, and you're not like, maybe it's not gonna be perfect, but you have a friend that you can talk to during your flight.
Yeah, then maybe this one is not the best one.
Maybe not.
But this is what you could do, yeah.
This is what you could do, yeah. Maybe not to talk to
do.
a friend, but yeah, indeed. Cool. And here we see here Llama CPP, just linking a bit back to our previous news article, right? So apparently there's Gemma CPP as well. Alrighty. What else do we have?
We have more Google news. Well,
More
DeepMind,
Google news.
Google DeepMind news to be specific. I'm very excited about it. DeepMind's Genie 3 steps beyond video generation to real-time interactive world models that run at 24 frames per second and p4 minutes. They describe it as, and I quote, a general-purpose world model that can generate an unprecedented diversity of interactive environments.
So Genie 3?
Genie 3 it's called. We've seen video generation over the last 2 years becoming better and better and better. We've seen some examples, and we've discussed some examples as well of world generation. Actually, not that long ago, we discussed a new research paper. What Genie 3 does is that it, via text prompts, you can generate a world, and then you can actually walk through it.
Yes,
You can
I saw
interact with
this
the
as
world.
well. Yeah.
What is to me the most impressive, because what is impressive is that it does this at a real time, like at 24 frames per second, which is very impressive. It does this at quite a high resolution, AP. But what to me is the most interesting thing is that it has memory.
Yeah, indeed.
And
I saw by memory, just to make sure I follow, for example, we had, I think we did even a live on when we're still Data Topics Unplugged, which was like Minecraft generated, I think. Then like you could walk a bit in a Minecraft generated world, but like if you look back and then you look back again, so now you're back looking forward, the landscape completely changed.
exactly, yeah.
And I
So
think
when what they do here, and it's actually in the you're sharing the screen, and there's an example demo there of where if you go up a little bit, where they are painting the room. This one, yeah, and then they're drawing something on the wall basically with a paintbrush, and then they are looking away, and then they will look back, and you still see exactly the same painting.
yeah, that's impressive, huh?
Which is very impressive, yeah. The limitations there that they have now, and it's not necessarily, it's more of a limitation of how the model is set up. It's not a hard limitation, but the memory limitation is that they have a memory of up to 1 minute. So
Yeah.
if you would look away for more than 1 minute, it's probably gone. It looks different, but it's still super impressive. It's I'm very excited to what this will bring as well. Just talk about video generation, what we've been doing now for 2 years. Like if you can do this interactively just by walking in that scene and just typing, please replace this this cow by a horse. And then you walk there and you push it a bit to the side.
Yeah.
Like this opens up a lot of different use cases.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to me, I feel like, how can I say? I feel like people got a bit excited about Veo, actually. I think it was also a model from Google about video
True.
generation,
Yeah.
right? But to me, this is like,
the interesting of Veo was that it included audio. It also generated the audio. So
nah,
really
yeah.
this lifelike people talking.
To me, this is like 5 steps ahead. Like
Yeah,
to
to me as
have
well.
it's not even like, it's not a video. It's like, it's really an
It's a 3D
interactable.
world. And the interesting thing is also like when you go through the demos, you see also examples of a person swimming. You see a person skiing. And these are, so it's a world model. And these things are emergent properties. So it's not that they said we are going to build something and it needs to be able to ski or be able to swim, but it learned this from whatever training set it has, probably YouTube, to do these things. And you also see like it through their training data set, it also to some extent learns some like physical environment properties. Like for the ski, for example, you notice like when they ski to the side, it goes slower than when they ski straight down. And all of these are just immersion properties being learned from the training data set.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
It's pretty, and also I'm also wondering, because again, the vibe you get, and if you're following the screen, you can see a bit some demos. The vibe you get is like a video game, right? I was wondering if this is also gonna bubble back to the video game industry, right? Like, I mean, maybe it won't do the whole job for them, but like, even if this is an asset that they can import into Unreal Engine or whatever, and then tweak, that's already like so many steps ahead, right? Right, like, or just like stitching scenes together or something. Like, I was really
true. Like if this will become a tool in gaming engines, right?
for
Like
sure.
if this is the way you can build your world,
Exactly.
just by writing prompts and walking
Exactly.
through it and fixing some stuff along the way.
Like a game developer is gonna be vibe coding, vibe developing, vibe game developing or something.
What I personally think as well is that this technology within 5 years will also very much spur on the VR/metaverse world.
That is
I
true.
think this opens so much new possibilities for collaborative gaming, for building communities online, for whatever, like in a virtual setting. That is basically unbounded only by your own imagination.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's yeah. You mentioned like bounded by imagination. I also heard an interview of a guy that was talking about vibe coding, and then he said something like that. Is like some developers are not super happy with the whole vibe coding movement, but he said he almost gets angry at them because it's like, just have some creativity, you know? Like there's so much more you can do now with, like, you have like this magic power, you know, that you can do so many things, and you're getting mad that you have the powers, you know? It's like, it's a bit, and I feel like it's a bit like that as well with this. I think it would be really cool as well to see what people build with this. I also agree there's going to be a bit accelerator for a lot of these de-rendered worlds, right? So yeah, I think it's really cool. I think I get excited about this. Mel, maybe practical question. If I want to try this, do you know how to go about it? Do you need to?
You can't.
You cannot, yeah. That's
So they opened it up for a limited set of researchers, and so it's some academic institutions basically, and also some quote unquote influencers.
Did you receive yours? Yes, like
Not yet. I'm
podcasting
expecting it in
no.
the coming days.
Yeah, maybe they got my email wrong or something. It's fine. I'll forgive them. It's cool. Alrighty. Well, I think even if they don't open this, I think just showing to the world that this is possible, motivated people are gonna try to reproduce it, and I think it's already gonna move forward the space, right? So good things will happen for sure. Very cool.
So, last in AI news, we have we actually didn't really talk about it in the last month because of holidays, but we have a new GPT release, GPT-5. And they're already saying that they will tune it to sound warmer and less formal after feedback from the initial rollout. Did you try GPT-5?
I did not try yet. It came out when? It came out like a few days ago, no?
I want to say already 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Is this possible? I haven't tried yet. But I also I looked at a few things, like some reactions, and some people saying that it's basically a bundle of models. So like now it's like you have one interface and it kind of routes your model to the right. Routes your question to the right model, rather. You tried it, no?
I tried it, yeah. So I use ChatGPT quite a bit for everything that is not coding. Before GPT-5, you would have basically the option to choose whatever GPT-4 flavor model you wanted to use. Now with GPT-5, you basically have the GPT-5 base model and a thinking model. And then after a lot of protests from the community, they also reintroduced the 4.0 model. You can still choose that now. But I think the general consensus of the community is that everybody was very a bit disappointed that it's just that, right? Like it's nothing. Nothing. I personally, I think the problem with OpenAI in general is that Sam Altman, in a lot of interviews, makes these hints like, yeah, we're really going into AGI now. Yeah, I was trying it this morning and like, oh, wow, I was really surprised. I didn't know that it was possible. And it makes you think like, okay, wow, GPT-5, what's this going to be? Like, this is going to be AGI. But then it's just like slightly better than GPT-4, right? And I do think I'm personally not disappointed. I think for the things that I use it for, so we also, for example, use it to generate summaries for the Monkey Patching podcast, and it's actually better than the GPT, the O3 model that was available before. I think it's and it's very subtle, right? But before, I often had to do it, had to tweak it a little bit, out of maybe a different prompt, and now it's often good in one go. But it's very subtle to explain like what you feel. But it's definitely not the change that you had from going from GPT-3 to 4, right? That was more tangible.
But I think that's a bit the vibe I get. Like, people get disappointed with LLMs because there's so much promised, and I think Sam Altman plays a big role in that. But I think if you get too caught up in that, you also lose sight a bit of what's actually useful, right? Like, okay, it's not a 10, but it's a 8, right? Which is pretty good still, right? I think even the announcement, he said like, oh yeah, we could release way more powerful models, but we want to make this accessible for the public. Because I think even the GPT-5 is actually available for everyone, right? Which is
the light one, not the thinking one.
I didn't care.
The thinking one is only for pro users. But what he actually said is we have way more powerful models that we can make available, but we ran out of resources because we are onboarding so many new users. So yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Let's see, right? I think the only downside as a pro user, but I haven't really had delved into it yet. So before GPT-5 was released, you also were able to do you had a deep research functionality where ChatGPT would browse a lot of different sources to basically build a research report on whatever you asked it. But that got dropped and it was moved only to the Max subscription. That costs €200 per month.
You felt a bit cheated there.
It feels like you get a bit cheated there. So far, for my use cases, I've been quite impressed with the GPT-5's thinking model. It's also like you can prompt it to browse a lot of different sources and to take a lot of actions on its own. So far, I haven't noticed any, let's say, any decrease in any functionality. So to me, it's only been an improvement, even though it's not a major step upwards.
Yeah. You know who did a similar move that got a lot of people upset? Cursor. They also changed the limits for the paying customers, and because they have the max subscription, right, with like Claude and limits, and they also moved that, and a lot of people were really, I mean, rightfully so, right? Like, people pay for like a yearly subscription, and then they change the limits, and now they say, okay, now you need to pay more. So it is a bit of a not a nice move. Let's just say that.
It's not a nice move. I think in their case it's a little bit more understandable because they are very dependent on model providers and they rely heavily on Anthropic, and Anthropic very much upped their prices over the last months.
I agree. I think it's more because I think a lot of people saw Cursor as like this one-stop shop to have access to all the models. So yeah, like, I think the kerfuffle was that they weren't very transparent about it. They just kind of did it without announcing to everyone. They didn't give people an option to get a partial refund or anything. So it was a bit poorly received, to say the least.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe talking about IDs, I recently talked to my brother actually, and he actually tried Keto. You know, we talked about the agentic IDE. It was also a VS Code port.
Yeah, the AWS one.
Yeah, he liked it actually. He said he hasn't used as much, but he said that like it can use for anything, right? But it kind of forces to have like a bit of a diagram, like to review a diagram to approve. So it removes a bit of the prompting, you know, like it's very opinionated. So it's like you say, okay, you have this diagram. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with this? This is the plan. Do you agree with this? Not agree? And then he goes off and these things, which I think is kind of something that you did.
Guardrails in place, like you.
Yeah, I think so. But I think like, because I remember even you mentioned, right? Like if you're coding with AI, right? Like you ask for a plan and then you review the plan and they say, okay, this is good. Or say, okay, ask me follow-up questions. Don't just give me a plan on the first go. Be critical, ask me questions. And I think this probably has some prompts or some things already, like some steps baked in that you have to go through them.
Yeah, it forces a bit the following these.
Indeed.
Structured approach to.
Indeed. But it kind of forces that structure on you, which is not bad if you never use these AI tools. I feel like at the same time, maybe if you are using a lot and you already have these good habits, let's say, maybe, I don't know, again, I haven't used it myself, but he was very impressed.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. And what do we have as the very last topic? We have NGINX, and I think that's how you pronounce it. NGINX is adding native ACME support via a Rust-based dynamic module, letting servers request and renew certificates directly in config. And I quote, the implementation introduces a new module, GX HTTP ACME module, that provides built-in directives for requesting, installing, and renewing certificates directly from NGINX configuration. So Bart, for the people that are not familiar with NGINX.
Yeah, this is that more technical, or it's maybe a bit more removed from AI.
Yeah,
maybe most of the times we're a bit more focusing on AI, right?
Yeah, which sometimes not a bad thing, maybe it can be nice sometimes.
So NGINX is a lot of things, but it's for most people it's a web server. So if you have your let's say you have your own server at home, you want to host a website. If you have a server on AWS or wherever, right? But you want to host your website, you need a web server. NGINX is probably today the de facto standard for that. What you probably want people to do is to visit your website via HTTPS, via secured, quote unquote,
Yeah.
a connection. And to do that, you need to have certificates in place. Getting certificates manually is a whole hassle. Maybe not. Let's not get into this. So we've been. I think what the community has moved towards over the last, I want to say, 10 years, is to use something like Let's Encrypt, which provisions basically certificates for you, and using the ACME protocol.
ACME stands for Automated Certificate Management Environment.
Yes, and you have other services, but I think Let's Encrypt is probably the most known. And you had a lot of tooling in place, like certbot that you could use, but you had to still set up this automated renewal via this protocol with a service like Let's Encrypt. But now what NGINX has announced is that there will be a new NGINX module, the HTTP ACME module, that will basically take care of everything of this for you via the NGINX config file. So that, like, it's a big hurdle if you're in a stage where this is the first time you're setting up an NGINX website, NGINX hosted website. Like, getting certificates in place is like a very technical thing. You really need to understand how it works. But like, if this gets taken care of you automatically, like, that's a big win for end users, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a solution for everything, because like when you're in a Microsoft environment, like I said, it probably doesn't make sense to do it like this. But for a lot of simple cases, like, it makes a lot of sense for users to use this.
Well, let me ask you this, be a bit devil's advocate now. Like, I want to host a website, so I bought a domain. A lot of the time, the domain providers also have the certificates. They also offer these certificates, no? They manage this, like, because I think I could publish a website now and I don't have to worry about all these things, right?
Yeah, but then you pay too much.
I see. Pockets.
That's true. Like, if you go to something very typical like GoDaddy, you buy a domain there, they charge a lot for a SSL certificate, while when you go to Let's Encrypt, it's literally free.
Yeah, that I know. And
if you do it manually, like, so you buy it at something like GoDaddy, you get a file that you then need to put in the right place. But it also introduces a risk, right? Like, because you need to understand what this file is, where you should put it, where you should definitely not put it, how to secure these directories, etc. Like, you need to, like, by doing this manually, you introduce another risk.
And if you hosted the website in GitHub Pages or something, could GitHub Pages handle the certificate?
Yeah, GitHub Pages does it. Like, if you use something like GitHub Pages, like, that's an abstraction of the virtual machine of NGINX. Like, they probably use NGINX under the hood, but they do it for you. Like, that's not something you need to worry about. This is really something like, either you have like a server in your basement and you want to geek out and host something on there, or you basically rent out a virtual machine wherever, and you want to, from the virtual machine, serve something to the internet. Then those are typical use cases where you.
Yeah, I see. Nice to see that it's there. But I think it also goes to show that everything is a rabbit hole.
Everything is a rabbit hole, definitely.
Like if you really go deep, it's like the world is complicated and interesting.
It's true.
Alrighty, cool. Anything else you want to add here?
No.
And I think that brings us to the end of our topics today. After a short hiatus, summer hiatus.
We just something to think about before we leave. We were actually discussing it before we started recording. Google search summaries have become very good.
Yeah, that's true. So for people that like Google search summaries, like if you Google something in the beginning, it gives like a little AI generated summary, right? Like, if you want to do this, and it adds links. And I remember it was in the news some years ago because it would say some absurd things like putting glue on pizza. But nowadays it's really good.
Yeah, it's like, for me personally, like 8 out of 10 times, the summary is good enough for what I wanted to search.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, in 9 out of 10 times, I don't even check the sources because it's like, if it's wrong,
and
it's
I really
whatever.
wonder what that means to, it's actually a very interesting one. I was going to say, I was wondering what it means to SEO, but we actually know.
Yeah. We talked about the Cloudflare stuff.
No.
No? Something else?
No.
Okay.
We actually know because Monday.com's, like the productivity app, I would like to call it, like their stock dropped hugely. I think 30% over in the, like yesterday or the day before, something like that. Because their CEO with their earnings report, they announced that SEO, they allocate a lot of their budget to SEO to basically acquire new customers. And SEO is broken. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because like people don't look anymore at the top 10 results in Google. They just look at the Google summary. And Google is not the whole story here, but like basically SEO doesn't work anymore because of AI.
Yeah, indeed.
Because you find your information in different locations, and like your typical way of just paying for AdWords and stuff like this to get at a higher ranking, like it's not that simple anymore. And we
indeed.
like I think with Monday.com, it's the first big company where they actually allocate like this happening to bad results.
But like when did they allocate budget for SEO? Because I feel like a lot of people have been saying this already, right? Like that the SEO was dead. Like I remember we covered an article on this pod that I think Cloudflare, they said they wanted to ban AI crawlers because they noticed that the people are not going to
I think it's something that's really like it's probably a bit of a hockey stick thing. Like you notice like SEO is changing, and suddenly like the change is good. It's big enough to be completely different, right?
Yeah, indeed. I think, there's some interesting questions there because I think for a big part of the internet, right? Like it works on SEO optimization and all these things. And now I remember listening to a podcast, the guy was saying now I'm trying to build my website so AI models will find it more easily and they will redirect to me because, like even if you do click the sources on the Google search summary, it's going to be the sources that Google's model selected, right? Even so, to have a chance that they will visit your website, you still need to. The game now is not like being on the top of the search engine. Now it's being on the top of the AI search.
Yeah, and I also heard these like you can do these kind of tricks. Like if you build your page, that you put a 10 second TLDR on the top of that content, and apparently like these crawlers pick up that more quickly. Like they prioritize that over a long list.
It makes sense,
because
right?
It's probably like cheaper. So you get these new. I think the SEO space will completely be revamped end of this year.
Yeah, and I think there's also a big. Indeed, the motivations for everyone to let their websites to be indexed, right? Because before it was like, I'll let you index my website, but you're also going to give me traffic. But now it's like, you will index my website and I'll get little to no traffic.
Yeah, but still, it will still be the only source of traffic, right?
Indeed, and that's a bit the thing, right? Like it's like maybe one is like, nah, fuck this. Like I don't want this anymore. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not gonna do this, then what are you gonna do?
True.
So yeah, it's it would be I'm curious to see what's gonna happen there. Let's just say that. All righty. And with that, any big plans, Bart? Any new holidays popping up?
Nothing in the coming weeks.
All right, then I guess we'll see everyone in the next week.
Thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you for joining me, Marilo.
Thanks for joining me, Bart. Happy to have you back.
See you soon.
Talk to you soon. Ciao.
Ciao.